Hi everyone. We are pleased to announce the launching of the audiobook Projections of the Consciousness, a compilation of 60 lucid out-of-body experiences experienced by Dr. Waldo Vieria, who proposed the neosciences conscientiology and projectiology. In this book, the author shares a wide range of experiences, including experiences with deceased consciousnesses or spirits, experiences in different dimensions, and even a cosmic projection. This is the first time that an audiobook will be available in English, giving a greater number of people access to this classic book. We hope that this will be the first of many others to come. We would also like to invite you to visit CIACI, or the Center for Higher Studies of Conscientiology, and the other institutions located here, which are linked to evolutionary development. At CIACI, you have the opportunity to study and deepen your self-knowledge, as well as to deepen your potential for achieving integral awareness, enabling you to interact in several dimensions. It is important to emphasize that we do not use any types of drugs in our research, nor do we depend on any gurus. Rather, you will study your own evolutionary level, and you will find out more about yourself. Within this institution, there are a number of facilities which will help to further your evolutionary development, including the Holocycle is a research facility which contains various dictionaries, support materials, and books for you to deepen your studies. Attached to the Holocycle is an extensive library with a large collection of books and several exhibitions of knowledge artifacts. The Tertuliarium is an amphitheatre with circular architecture, where entries for the Encyclopedia of Conscientiology are presented daily and are transmitted live on YouTube. It is only available in Portuguese. However, you can find a selection of translated entries in English on the Tertuliarium YouTube channel. There are 16 laboratories, of which each one has a specific theme for you to perform personal research. In these spaces, you can get in touch with the extra-physical team of helpers to help you experience the various topics studied here, such as perceiving and measuring your bioenergetic signals, deepening your research about past lives, or studying and practicing a very strong energetic state, the vibrational state. Regarding the accommodation at CIACI, there is the Village Hotel with comfortable rooms, a restaurant and cafeteria. Next to CIACI, there is the Mabu Interludium Hotel with more higher-end facilities. The CIACI Research Center is located in the city of Iguazu Falls, which contains the immense Iguazu waterfalls, one of the 7 wonders of nature, and which will provide you with an unforgettable experience. And if you happen to be coming to Iguazu Falls, come visit us. You are very welcome here.
Preface to the second edition in English. This book was written in 1979 and first published in Portuguese in 1981. It is now in its fourth edition in Brazil. The facts narrated here continue to be experienced by billions of persons every night as they have since antiquity. The difference now is that the communication of these experiences is increasing with every year that passes, without the folkloric and mystical connotations that have been attached to them for thousands of years. Conscientiology is the science that studies the consciousness in a comprehensive manner, with a multidimensional perspective. Projectiology is the formal study of the projection of the consciousness, or OBE. The International Bibliography of Projectiology contained 1,907 items in 1986. Today, in 1997, the International Bibliography of Conscientiology includes more than 5,100 entries. When I wrote this book in 1979, I proposed, at the end of Chapter 9, the neologism projectiology to name the new science that would study projection. Since 1986, there has been a sharp worldwide increase in many sectors of scientific research on the 54 basic phenomena of projectiology, most notably the near-death experience, or NDE. This research has served to confirm a great deal of our own findings. As promised in the introduction of this book, we published Projectiology, an overview of experiences outside the human body in 1986. That book is currently in its fifth edition in Brazil. It is a more extensive work in this area that serves to consolidate the practical research of conscientiology. When faced with the challenge of presenting timeless ideas and experiences in a contemporary manner, it is inevitable that a new nomenclature or vocabulary is generated. Projection is no exception. As such, the reader will find that new terms have been created in order to communicate the numerous aspects of projection as objectively and descriptively as possible. It is suggested that the reader become familiar with the glossary so that, with time, the vocabulary will become easier to understand and use. We have avoided using spirit, entity, reincarnation, and other terms that we consider to be outworn, or to have religious or mystical connotations. For example, the consciousness, when used in the context of projectiology and conscientiology, does not imply a state of awareness or lucidity, but, rather, refers to the actual soul, spirit, ego, or intelligent principle. A great number of facts and phenomena detailed in the following pages have been confirmed, amplified, and clarified by occurrences during the past decade. In the period since 1981, we founded the Center of Continuous Consciousness, now deactivated. In 1988, the International Institute of Projectiology and Conscientiology, or IIPC, was founded. IIPC continues to sponsor several conferences, forums, and symposiums, and has confirmed the discovery of new cultural and scientific facts every year since its inception. Reflecting the IIPC's rapid growth, our databanks show the following statistics. Headquarters in Rio de Janeiro and almost 60 offices throughout Brazil. International offices in Barcelona, Buenos Aires, Caracas, London, Miami, New York, Ottawa, and Lisbon. Over 500 active collaborators, a mailing list totaling over 50,000 individuals and institutions. Activities have been conducted in 82 cities in Brazil and other countries, 28 universities and research institutions, and 26 public and private companies, including the periodic offering of 24 regular and extracurricular courses. IIPC has held over 20 events, including the first International Congress of Projectiology in 1990, followed by the publication of the Annals of the Congress. In 1992, we published the Mini-Glossary of Conscientiology. These efforts served to open the way for the practical work, 700 Conscientiology Experiments, published in 1994 in Portuguese. According to our records, upwards of 45 institutions, besides IIPC, are currently dedicated to some type of dissemination about the phenomena of projectiology. Nevertheless, there is still much to be done to achieve universal acceptance of lucid projection and its practical applications in human life within the framework of conventional science, thus working towards a new society having transcendent ethics. We are counting on the help of new collaborators and researchers in other areas of science to further the sciences of conscientiology and projectiology. For all the reasons presented here, dear reader, we continue to count on your goodwill, good intentions, and discernment to deepen and amplify our understanding of ourselves through the conscientious and practical use of the lucid projection of the consciousness. Let us go forth and work together as we are now much greater in number, more united and cohesive, focusing on the liberating concepts of conscientiology, leading towards the maturity of the consciousness. Waldo Vieria, 1997.
Introduction. In deciding on the direction of this book, I was faced with three options. First, to write only about that which conforms to accepted norms of current science, thus staying within the confines of my medical training, and suppressing certain information regarding extraphysical reality, as many authors have done in works which are currently in circulation. Second, to restrict and adapt myself to generally acceptable religious conditioning and profile my life as a psychic without expressing anything new. Third, to allow myself to commit to paper whatever I have experienced and witnessed in complete frankness without repressing, censoring, or offending, while remaining true to my nature and to the ambience of the better areas of the extraphysical dimensions. Not having anything to hide, I opted for the later. This with the consent of the helpers, see glossary, who presented me with an irresistible suggestion. I was to obtain information and write down everything I thought, felt, saw, and remembered about the instructive excursions outside the Soma. For this, I would receive assistance in keeping records in order to convey the findings. I was to place primary emphasis on thinking in a disciplined way. I was to keep accurate records of the events in the first person and allow for their verification via independent studies undertaken by those open to intellectual exploration of the topic. In order to be impartial, authentic, and true to the facts, I sought to communicate the experience of the projections from a point of view in which the projector is a human laboratory, investigating its own universe, empirically but autobiographically. To accomplish this, I needed to lay bare my entire being. I used with all sincerity, unpretentious and dispassionate language, presenting myself more as a spectator than as a protagonist, taking on the task of authenticating the extraphysical realities witnessed, stripped of any dogmatic spirit or scientific prejudice. Experiences outside the dense body are facts, regardless of how each person explains them to him or herself. To contribute to the development of new travelers outside of the dense body, I needed to function as a reporter, fulfilling the task assigned to him. I would seek to be worthy of the trust granted to a subordinate called upon to cooperate with the purposes of service and study. My conscience tells me that a more intense apprenticeship does not transform the imperfect, militant servant into an extraphysical traveler with an open passport to better dimensions. Just because the student chooses an exalted topic to research does not make him or her an exalted one. It only reveals his or her needs. Likewise, the fact that projection is inevitably a personal experience does not place one at a higher stage of evolution. There are myriads of schizophrenics who live semi-projected lives. Since I find myself with countless difficulties and personal shortcomings, it seemed recommendable that I do my best to settle old commitments with dignity, fulfilling my duties within the cosmoethic, extraphysical universal principles. Hence, this volume. Projection allows one to replace belief with knowledge. To believe in the accounts is secondary. What is important is to accept the possibility of extraphysical events. Ideally, the interested person will have his or her own experiences through training with 4 bodies: the soma, physical body, holochakra, psychosoma, extraphysical body, emotional body, astral body, and the mental soma, intellectual body. For this, it is necessary to discipline the memory and, above all, to sharpen one's mental concentration with a lot of willful determination, self-analysis, and perseverance by following techniques similar to those used here. After that, prepare yourself for deep renovation in all sectors of existence. Separations from the body are experienced every day by men and women during natural sleep. Having lucid memories of extraphysical occurrences remains the most difficult but surmountable problem. It is hampered by the biological impediments to recall. With practice, the extraphysical exchange allowed by conscious projection will become increasingly frequent. There will be a day when the level of awareness on Earth will reach beyond the current impossible longing to take all friends and acquaintances one by one to see something of the vibrating life outside of the human body. In reality, it becomes impractical, even with the use of all available dictionaries, to narrate precisely what can be perceived, thought, felt, and done in somewhat evolved extraphysical environments. Projection breaks down the intraphysical barricades of the human condition. The reader should not be surprised to find chapters containing themes rarely approached, such as self-induced projection, guided projection, cleansing projection, energetic bridge, extraphysical bait, extraphysical communicability, consensual leisure, cosmoethic, silver cord, energetic cord, free consciousness, invisible unions, mental targets, mental soma, psychic signals, pregnant projector, super consciousness, hour of human anguish, vibrational state, and crash projector. New and original subjects will also be encountered, such as self-embrace, self-telekinesis, conscientiology, empty brain, extraphysical shocks, extraphysical Trendelenburg, hydromagnetic shower, in-block recollection, inverse landing, psychophonic monologue, projectiology, quintessential chord, partial projection, simulated existential series, transmental dialogue, vibratory valve, and others. According to conscientiology, the cosmoethic is always evolving, as is everything. Practical and descriptive, more objective than literary, this book is composed of technical accounts of more than 60 conscious disengagements from the soma, selected from those which occurred during non-consecutive nights in the second half of 1979. Emphasis was given to those projections which offered greater evidence or clarification of multidimensionality. They ranged from the simple to the complex, from the brief to the more prolonged, from the nearby to those far away, from those of a cleansing nature to those of profound destiny, from those in which the psychosoma was used to others in which only the mental soma was utilized, aiming to reveal the anatomy of projection in all of its aspects and trace the panoramic lines of exchange among the spheres of existence. During this period, there were dozens of other projections not mentioned due to insufficient data resulting from memory failures. I omitted some assisted excursions because of their similarity or repetition of topics. I deleted other projective experiences at the suggestion of the helpers for several secondary reasons. Each account is divided into the following parts: the period prior to the projection of the psychosoma, or the beginning of the technical record; the extraphysical period constituting the narration of the occurrences outside of the physical body; after returning, the period immediately after awakening, which I call the technical register, and observations made regarding the projection. The descriptions, technical records, and analytic index of topics permit the interested reader to research the methods employed, to analyze and classify, and arrive at his or her own conclusions about the facts. This data may be employed for a comparative study of projections with their personal experiences or with those of a third party. In order to allow detailed examination of the projections, a certain amount of repetition in the technical records was inevitable. Eventually, I intend to offer the public another book in which I will bring together detailed techniques and studies derived from observations made during hundreds of projections I experienced during my 3 most recent intensive experimental projective phases. Everything began with intermittent projections that started in 1941, at the age of 9, in a spontaneous whirlwind projection. I wish to express my gratitude to the helpers who co-authored this volume, particularly to Transmentor, André Luiz, Euripides Bassanufo, José Grosso, Aura Celeste, Aristina, Alex, Taumau, Maria Clara, and so many others who do not wish to identify themselves. Over the course of time, they have taken me along on many assistential excursions. Although a veteran in practice, I still consider myself to be an apprentice of projection. As such, I am likely to commit errors with respect to details which will have to be corrected later. Also, there are questions scattered throughout the text, illustrating that the extraphysical world, the consciousness, and its manifestations are themes of research open to questioning and interpretation, even by the most studious extraphysical consciousness. Chapter 32. If I may express a small wish, it is that I am able to peruse these candid notes during my next intraphysical, physical life, in the hope that this sincere message proves to be useful for those who research the projection of the psychosoma and mental soma, their relationships and consequences. I present this work, having exercised great care to ensure its accuracy. And with the best of intentions, I dedicate this message to youths who are now becoming adults. To all those who decide to traverse the ways of projection, go my most ardent hopes of success. Above all, I offer my most fervent and constant wish that humanity achieves in the shortest time the largest possible number of extraphysical consciousnesses and persons with continuous consciousness.